right, with respect to level 3 stuff on the instrument, obviously you can just find the key anywhere. In this case, I was doing, I can't remember. Oh no, it was B minor. So D major. So just messing around with E major and E minor there, essentially that's what I'm talking about, is this idea that you can start off, you be like, you know, and just sort of start off with the pentatonic, if you will, or go right into D major. And that's a very useful skill, obviously, because you get this sort of like two tapestry sort of, or two-dimensional, I guess is a better way of putting it, view of music, right? So in the case of this one, it's B minor, right? And that just moved down to, of course, yes, the Phrygian position. That's going to give me F sharp minor. Now that's level 3 stuff. You're like, if I move from the 6th degree down to the 3rd degree, I can play the same pentatonic shape in the same sequence, of course, too. You're like, oh, look, Mixolydian becomes Ionian, right? And then it becomes, of course, Dorian, Phrygian, Mixolydian, of course, back to the minor. In this case, I'm doing it at F sharp. In another instance, you know, there's the 6th degree, the natural minor. Here's Mixolydian. Like, oh, look, I can swap in this Aeolian position. Close enough, right? So I think you're, you know, kind of feeling me there. Is essentially what I'm doing is my mind is just flopping between a couple different scales always. And then I work towards at the level 3 stuff, combining those two systems so it's seamless. And of course, another big part is the speed and technicality. Now you saw me do it essentially with this arpeggio sequence where I start off in the B minor. Just playing the minor triad there. Then I do the major, minor at the 2nd degree there. Now listen, it's a little easier when I'm sort of not got the mic in my face and sort of more into the music, but that's just hard to do. And really all I'm doing is combining two systems, right? So I take this arpeggio. Those are the top 3 notes for Mixolydian. Right, so, oh, that's from Aeolian, next position up, right? Oh, there's Locrian. Ending there, of course, in the natural minor again. So I think you're starting to get the idea here. I'm sort of like combining those two systems. I take this arpeggio and I sort of put together. Right, so that's really what you're trying to do, is essentially set it up so that you can first play the arpeggio. That's level 1 stuff, right? You're also okay, and you keep going and stuff like that. So that's all level 1. You're basically learning all of those arpeggio shapes and the various inversions, right? There's the G major and the root. That connects to, of course, the first inversion, then the second. Right? Of course, you got the chords there with the cage system. There's basically the entire chord there. Just starting from the A string, right? So all I'm doing is on the first, again, the third level 2 stuff. Now you're like 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, right? You're starting to do that stuff. Finally, level 3 is you're already kind of good at doing the sweep techniques. You're already pretty good at knowing where you are in the scale sequence. And then finally, of course, you're just going to add the final little sort of element there, which is a series of hammer-ons and pull-offs and some slide stuff or whatever you like. Set it up for sort of like a bluesier run or whatever it is that you're going to do. Of course, you can get in there and just practice the alternate picking. That's a little trickier, right? Of course, concentrate on actually pushing and pulling the pick past the string. And you'll find yourself actually getting a lot more results. It's not that I have some superhuman technique or something. I really don't. Alternate picking is probably one of my weaker skills. And hybrid being the weakest because it's the newest. I only started doing it a couple years ago, but no excuse. The thing is I actually use the pick as a feedback loop, physically speaking. And so I'm actually pushing and pulling the pick past the string, just very fast, of course. And that sort of resistance of the string lets me gauge how fast or slow I need to go, right? Then there's completely open to choked off. So the change in dynamics there's a whole bunch of extra skills that go in there, right? So obviously that's stuff you're practicing at level 2. And then of course, level 3 is when you start to, where you like, whatever you're going to do there, right? I'm just trying to keep it simple here, but you get the idea. That's level 3. And of course, afterwards, you're going to start to combine things together also at level 3 where you're like, and then of course, maybe whatever you're going to do, right? I'm just sticking around here. So I think you get the main point is at level 3, you're starting to take all these elements and then introduce more sort of like higher order techniques, like sweeps, like faster hammer-ons and pull-offs with a lot more accuracy. The slides are nice and tight. Your sequences are clean, working consistently. You can hear me. It's inconsistent there. Alternating finger groups. I can't even do it, see? It's about control of my mind. I'm like, do this, do this, do this. And you see, as soon as I start doing it now, of course, I'm talking a little bit too, but it's no excuse. People sing and play insanely difficult guitar parts all the time. Sorry. So that's not important. But what is important is the idea that you're just like, do this, and then you can execute immediately. There is no break when you're sort of... And you can keep doing that repetitively over and over and over again perfectly, right? Choke it off. You see, I'm losing it already because I don't practice the odd groupings and stuff. And it's just at that point, of course, level 3, you recognize this problem. I kind of did it on purpose there to show you, like, nobody, like everybody shows you their best side on the guitar videos and stuff. It's not about that with the practice stuff. Now you're trying to shine a spotlight on the inconsistencies and the mistakes. And so once you do that, well, then boom, you're off to the races. Right? So that's level 3 stuff. I don't want to beat it to death because honestly, there's not much to go over. You have to learn all the arpeggio shapes, all the different inversions for major triads and essentially in the dominant 7 family. All the scales, whether 3 notes per string, of course, or the classical method where you just have a few notes on, but it moves vertically, right? Instead of this horizontal climbing, sort of diagonally speaking, right? And of course the arpeggios and the pentatonics, and you've got more exotic shapes. Right, so stuff like that starts to get to the next level. You got to learn all of that stuff first before you start worrying about doing the crazy super psycho shred stuff. And just by virtue of practicing it over and over and over again, you actually develop the speed and accuracy that you so desperately want. And then by exercising creative control over top of what you're doing, instead of just doing boring licks where, like, we were just doing there with respect to just all this alternate picking stuff, use it in small bursts in the context of a musical idea. That's about as fast as it really needs to be, right? You're like, there it is, you know what I mean? You just add a little burst of speed and you just sort of aim for accuracy of the fingers, right? Where each note's ringing out nice and clear. Right down into F major there, right? And of course you start to hear that. You're like, okay, there's the F, okay. And then you start breaking this down. There's the D, right? So you got this one, there's your C, right, of course. The A, the G. All this stuff start making sense. You're like, a whole new starting point for you to start practicing and stuff like that, to put these things together rather than going, which you've already done. Do that one and then do the one from, of course, the G position. Then be like, okay, well, here's my D. And do the same thing where you're using this. I've moved up to G major, my bad, but you get the idea. See, tunnel vision there. See, I told you. That's the stuff you gotta sort of focus in on. And that's just it. If you're like, there's F major, be like, this next one, there's my F major right there, right? And get good at sort of doing that conversion quickly and get your fingers into place and be like, there's the next F major, there's the next F major, there it is in the octave, there it is back at the starting position. And be like, that's the first degree when I'm talking about the sort of 3 notes per string, or if you will, I can also do it in the open position sort of, but I won't. But then, of course, you'll be moving up to the next one. So you're like, okay, well, there's the next one. Of course, it's up here. So you got... Or you can move to the next string, right? So you start to focus in on that at being the major position. And then what would it be if I moved a half step down, right? Or whatever is necessary to get to the next degree and whatnot. In this case, of course, it's going backwards. Right? In the other case where you have the A type here, like this, you're like, oh, we're back to 3 notes per string. Or the classical method, that's level 3 stuff where you're basically now breaking down the fretboard in much smaller chunks based around a specific kind of system. In this case, the cage system, but I could do it with 3 notes per string, right? If I just sort of climb up here. Oh, there's the 3rd degree. And I can use the arpeggio there, right? There's level 2 practice. And then, of course, level 3. Of course, you're doing it faster with more sort of, whatever emphasis on the music part there. And, of course, the nice sweep suck. So, at the higher speeds, it gets insanely difficult, and just a few guys at the top of the food chain can actually do it really well. So I think that about wraps it up. Okay, so level 3 stuff's not about more complicated sort of like practice exercise. It means that you are now the main driver of your own practice sessions. You put on some music, you work on some soloing stuff, you work on rhythm ideas, you work on substitute chord ideas, using the cage system or whatever else it is, That is actual usable music practice. Just sitting here playing a series of scales only gets you so far. You got to basically start to take those. Oh, that's interesting. And that leaps off too. You like? Nice. You like? Now you see that unexpected, out of nowhere, diminished idea? Level 3. Now you're prepared to take that chance with an actual backing track on, and you'll be like, yeah, boy. Okay? Because they always sound good, usually in almost any position, so don't worry about it. Just move a half step down from wherever you are and play diminished, or a half step up and play diminished as the symmetrical method, and boom, you're done. And of course, the symmetrical stuff comes from level 1. Level 2 is putting the major and diminished together, or picking anyone, right? There's with the minor there, of course, right? Maybe getting more exotic up here. Same idea every single time, but now I would know what that sounds like when I use this starting arpeggio, the 5th degree in this case, or the 4th degree, or the 3rd, or the 2nd, and then move a half step down or a half step up. That's a process that takes like a year and a half until you get good at it, and you're like, yeah, do that one. It'll sound killer. Boom, level 3 stuff, because then you start practicing, if you will, and just playing that stuff right from ground zero. So no bad habits have an opportunity. And of course, basically breaking down things so that you don't get the bad habits with respect to technique, right? You're like, you're pretty comfortable using, the alternate picking with the sweeping idea. Ooh, those triads are rough. You see right there, that bar? And that's the kind of stuff you're practicing. You're sort of so once you're doing it back and forth, you can hear how I start to lose it with respect to keeping the control. And I'm not hitting every single note. And I'm not muting it every time perfectly. That's the kind of stuff you're practicing at level 3 to get it, the fast stuff, nice and clean and perfect, which we're always working on. And don't worry about it, man. It just, obviously, you just saw me do it. In the instance of a song, it's a lot easier because there's a lot more elements going on to sort of mask over some of the inconsistencies. Still got to be very close, but still, there's wiggle room there. But when there's nothing, it's do or die. And that's just it. Start off with the simple stuff. By using 3 notes per string and the pentatonic scale. Right, and then just factor that in. And you can always throw in the sharp 5 there, right? Then, of course. Factor in the harmonic minor there as another tool to be using, of course, level 3 stuff. So, there's not a whole lot I want to cover massively here because, honestly, level 3 means there's no more rules, no more regulations. You just kind of do your thing on the instrument relative to a backing track. And then while you're working in the level 3 stuff, you keep refining those ideas. So you make less mistakes, the technique is cleaner and more precisely executed, and of course you're going to get even more speed if that's your thing, but ultimately it's the combining freely of cool ideas, not just getting tunnel vision and doing the same thing all the time like alternate picking, whatnot. I did it in the beginning just to sort of show that level 3, a lot of it is sort of working on those ideas, But in a real world improvisation, you want to minimize that stuff and instead just sort of concentrate on punctuating it with more melodic parts. And once you sort of get there as a musician, you get a lot more sort of mileage. Close enough. Okay, so that's what you got to kind of work towards, that level 3 stuff. And of course, again, those sort of techniques that you're not really using, in this case, the tapping, right? Don't forget to go down in like a scale kind of situation. It's hard to do and talk with this stupid thing in my face, but anyways, you get the idea. You're that's in there too, right? So now all of a sudden you're like, now that's the idea, right? Again, classic sort of like shred metal thing where you're just doing this. Another level up. Maybe 4 fingers. And you come down. Into the Lydian mode there again. Level 3, because you already know that that scale exists there from level 2. And you can already play it from level 1. Done. Thanks so much for joining me. Appreciate every single one of you. Keep practicing. I'm doing it. You're doing it. Everybody's doing it across North America. Rejoice in your punishment, because no pain, no gain. We'll see you in the next one.